They say no man is an island, and that's not entirely true. There once was a man who was an island, and this is the story of how the X-Men murdered him. Hello, Winternet. Welcome to Hill Showcase, where we're all for progress and change, but even we think it's a little ballsy to scrap an entire team of established heroes just for a bunch of newbies from different countries and different racial backgrounds. I mean, it's political correctness gone mad, quite frankly. I'm your host, The Watcher of New Earth. Well, as Marvel is ramping up its 80th anniversary celebrations, it only seems fitting that we do our part too. And what better way to kick off the celebration with one of Marvel's most important comics ever.
It's easy to underestimate how big of an influence Giant Size X-Men actually was. Written by legend Len Wein with art by the incredible Dave Cockrum, this issue not only introduced the new team of now iconic characters, it actively saved the team from obscurity. See, while X-Men comics were still being released at the time, they were all reprints. There had been no new X-Men stories for 5 years, and it was looking like things would continue this way until they were cancelled. Without this issue and the subsequent influential run by Chris Claremont, the X-Men as we know them would not exist.
It was the launchpad for modern X-Men comics and arguably modern comics in general. This is Giant Size X-Men number 1.
We open in a village in Germany where a crowd is pursuing the mutant Kurt Wagner. They corner him on top of a house and he decides to go out in a blaze of glory, becoming the monster that they truly believe he is. He is soon overpowered and it looks like they're about to put a stake through his heart when all of a sudden everybody freezes. It's revealed that this was the doing of Professor X, who has showed up to recruit the mutant.
And that's all well and good for you coming to save him, but is there a reason you waited till the last possible second? I mean, they had a stake to his chest.
We then cut to Canada, specifically a base of the Canadian government, where we are reintroduced to the mutant Wolverine. Professor X is there to also recruit Wolverine, as he says he is in desperate need of mutants.
Not for any adventuring purposes, no, they're in fact cheap labor.
Wolverine, who at this point was fed up with the government, agrees. Professor X then gets an old ally of the X-Men Banshee, and then we go to Kenya, where men pray to the goddess Aurora for rain. She puts on a spectacular array of power and is able to provide what the villagers need, when suddenly Professor X arrives to recruit her. And bizarrely enough, she agrees to go with him.
Storm. Hey, Storm. So, I know you got this whole goddess thing going on, people worshipping you, and you being able to help them more than you ever could in any other circumstance. How about you drop all that, come with me, live in my mansion, and I'll give you a cape. Pretty good, right, Storm? Pretty good? Pretty good.
And then we go to Japan, where Professor X recruits the one-time adversary of the X-Men, Sunfire. We then cut to Russian farmland, where Peter Rasputin rushes to save his sister from a tractor, which, funnily enough, this little girl will soon be the future X-Men Magic. So, a little bit of trivia there, that's fun. As with the others, Professor X soon arrives and tries to recruit him, claiming that his powers belong to the world and should be used for the benefit of everybody.
Yes, for the good of all, and mostly me.
Though it upsets him to leave his family, Peter agrees to go. We then cut to the American desert where John Proudstar is chasing down a bison as he laments the fall of his people, the Apache. He claims he's sick of how weak his people have gotten, considering that they used to ride freely and hunt bison as they wanted.
That really the image you want out there? Of you guys hunting down and murdering an animal that's almost gone extinct? That really the image you want out there?
Sure enough, Professor X shows up to recruit him, but Proudstar refuses. Professor X then tells him that maybe he's right. Maybe all the Apache are weak cowards. And this pisses off Proudstar so much that he goes ahead and joins him.
No one called you a coward, huh? Well, maybe people would stop calling you a coward if instead of you just agreeing to everything that they're saying, actually, maybe kick the wheelchair guy into the next state. There's a thought.
Soon enough, the new team is assembled at the X Mansion, now in their classic iconic uniforms, looking all spiffy. It's great, it's fantastic, everybody's having a great time. They begin to ask why exactly the professor gathered them, and he tells them they're waiting for Cyclops, the man who can tell the story of their plight better than anybody else could.
Can Cyclops really tell the story better than you? Because last time I checked, you have telepathic powers that can transport people into someone else's mind, and then they can feel like they're actually there. You know, I'm pretty sure that's better than old Cyclops over here. Whatever.
Cyclops then goes on to explain that Professor X got a signal from the Cerebro, the mutant locator, about a possible new mutant, and the X-Men went to investigate. After flying in the X-Men's Stratojet, they reached a seemingly deserted island. However, before long, the team was ambushed. Seemingly hours later, Cyclops awakens, only to find that his eyes are now normal.
Well, normal-ish.
He's naturally excited about the idea of finally not blasting energy out of his eyes, but as he turns around, he sees that he's alone, back on the Stratojet, with the autopilot returning him to the mansion. Back at the mansion, he tells the professor of the incredible story, but suddenly his powers come back, now full force. With the story over and the new team all caught up, they finally set out. Sunfire, however, doesn't seem willing to go and decides to hang back. However, once they're up in the air in the jet, he finally flies back to them. Quick side note that doesn't really impact the story, Proudstar is the first one to see Sunfire outside of the plane and calls everybody's attention to it. Wolverine agrees, while calling Proudstar Geronimo, and Sunfire, and I quote, a Jap. Lovely. They quickly near the island of Krakoa as Cyclops begins dividing them up into teams and using their newly assigned codenames. This includes Colossus with Storm, Wolverine and Banshee, and Sunfire with Nightcrawler.
I don't know what surprises me more. The fact that this book didn't make a joke about Germany and Japan coming together to fight? Or the fact that that was where my mind first went? I really need to do some introspection on that.
This leaves only Cyclops and the newly christened Thunderbird. They all jump to their designated points separated from each other, and this leads to a long sequence of fights with gorgeous artwork, but it doesn't really do anything to service the story, it's just a bunch of cool character shots and getting to know more of the characters' powers. That said, it is really great art. I'm just gonna keep talking so you guys can admire it. Oh yeah, that one looks cool. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that one. Oh man, I wish they would do that in the movies. Wow, now that's impressive. Okay, that's enough. They meet up at a temple and break in, only to find that the other X-Men are all tied up in vines. The others are freed and awake soon, but they reveal that Cyclops shouldn't have returned because the island was actually the mutant. Krakoa then rises and reveals itself, claiming that it needed other mutants and their powers to feed and sustain itself.
So, the island was the mutant. And the mutant was getting his powers from the X-Men, who were all friends. So you might say that the real island was the friends we made along the way.
Cyclops is naturally upset because now he's brought not one, but two, but later retconned to be three, groups to be fed off by Krakoa. Krakoa, however, seems very proud of itself for using what it calls the eyeless one and the legless one.
Pretty big talk coming from someone who's just a supersized Swamp Thing.
The X-Men, new and old, finally engage the Beast. Professor X joins the battle telepathically, claiming that he has a plan. As he and Krakoa begin their telepathic battle, everyone else gets to work on setting that plan into motion. Storm begins channeling electricity into Polaris to power up her magnetic powers. The X-Men continue their assault as long as they can, until Professor X just can't hold them at bay any longer. Polaris then shoots downward with her powers, creating a magnetic pull that alters the magnetic waves around Krakoa, before suddenly returning them so forcefully that it literally shoots the island off the planet. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what can be said except...
Magnets! Oh!
This, of course, leaves the X-Men with the predicament of having nothing to stand on in the middle of the ocean. And it looks like they're about to die, but they don't because, you know, it's the X-Men. Soon after, they find the Stratojet, and they all board. And the comic ends with Angel turning around and saying, what exactly are they going to do with 13 X-Men?
Well, that's a pretty passive-aggressive way of saying get the hell off my plane. But alright. Anyway, that was Giant Size X-Men number 1. It's great!
As I stated before, this comic was a precursor to modern X-Men, and you can really see it in this issue. Not only does it introduce soon-to-be icons in the Marvel Universe, each character gets their own moments, making it seem as if everyone's an integral part of the team, and will be a part of it for the foreseeable future, even if it didn't exactly happen. And this would stay true for the rest of the X-Men's run, with the team being the main focus, and all the crazy events just kinda happening. But regardless of any bizarre situation, it never feels disingenuous because the core of the book has always been the team, and that bond that started in this issue has stayed true all the way through. The art, of course, is spectacular. Each character with a unique design, every action sequence making good use of their distinctive powers, every page is brought to life with the dynamic art from Cockrum. I truly believe that this comic is not only special because of what it set up, it's just a great, fun read that has earned its place in Marvel history.
Sure, it's a little dated here and there, but if you're a fan of the X-Men, it's harder to think of a more important issue that's ever been written. As always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. This is the Watcher of New Earth, signing off. Hi, I'm the Watcher of New Earth. If you like that video, hit that subscribe button, maybe even the bell icon. It probably does something, right? I mean, YouTube hired someone to put it there, so the least we could do is show appreciation by hitting it.